All right, greetings, friends. Welcome to the What's Right show, powered by Sam and Ash Injury Law. In a crash, call Sam and Ash 702-820-1234. That's the local Vegas number, 800-304-2000. If you must, use a toll-free number and reach us 24/7 for your injury case. Now, just quick note on this. Today, if you're watching the Sam Cam, I'm in a tie. I have a mediation later today, so I've got to dress the part. Yeah, I have a whole theory on lawyers and dress code. By the way, somebody was asking me about this. Sam, you're in a tie. Normally, no tie and just maybe a sports coat. Well, my perspective on this, as an attorney, is I'm not here to intimidate my clients. I want to. That's right. A lot of lawyers put on a big show for their clients, meet their client, tie and everything, and clients walk in, and really these lawyers are doing it just to intimidate you. Now, when I go to court, when I go in front of a judge, if I go in front of a mediator, an arbitrator, I'm going to dress like $1 million because I'm representing you. Right? See how that works? So that's my perspective on it. Okay, Sam at what'srightshow.com, at What's Right Sam on X, formerly known as Twitter. The Epstein files, records, emails, whatever you want to call it. Oh my gosh, my head is spinning, and I think all of these emails released as of an hour or two ago have been really just very hurtful to the Democrats. I don't see any of this. This is a broad exoneration of Trump. And I keep thinking, what am I missing here? Because if I keep, you know what I keep waiting for, Robbie? And maybe they've got this because they're trying to drip this out piecemeal. I keep waiting for an email where Trump himself is emailing and conspiring about something with Epstein. But that's not happening. You're not seeing that. You have email after email about Epstein talking to different people, including very prominent reporters, journalists, talking about talking about Trump. But this is not even testimony. I don't even know if any of this would be admissible in court, quite frankly. And I'll tell you, for example, where do I have it? The Thanksgiving email? This is my favorite one. This is the email that people are purporting to show that Epstein was spent 2017 Thanksgiving with Trump. And as best as I can tell from these emails back and forth with one of his buddies, named Kate, or Faith Cates, I think is the name. It seems that the Trump and him were just in the same place in Florida, not at the same house, not in the same resort, not in the same room. That they just happened to be in town. It's as if somebody said, "Yeah, well, so and so had breakfast with Sam this morning." And when pressed, would have to explain that that person had breakfast somewhere in Las Vegas. That's how absurd it is. And yet, if you look at even some people who once upon a time were regarded as serious people, the way they are amplifying this stuff and characterizing these emails, look at this. We've got him. What you really have, are emails that are tremendously embarrassing to people who once had credibility. And I keep saying that, but that's, one of these journalists, of course, Michael Wolff, who wrote a tell-all book about Trump and has been regarded with quite high esteem by the mainstream media. Some of these emails basically have him advising Epstein in how to talk to reporters about Trump. He gives him advice when Trump is first running for president, 2015-2016 election, advising Epstein literally on how to answer questions and how to perhaps create problems for Trump. Ditto with another reporter from the New York Times, and this one actually also was running interference in some of these emails, interference for Epstein and warning him of actual investigations being performed by private investigators and even law enforcement. So, right, and why is nobody on the other side appalled by the fact that you had all of these people willingly working with Epstein for the sake of getting Trump? To me, the worst looking party in this is every Democrat that was willing to, at the time, conspire with a known pedophile for the sake of vanquishing Donald J. Trump. Put another way, there is no low where the Democrats won't go to get at Trump. And that included working with Epstein. Now, another takeaway here, I've looked at all of these here, and I've got some of them pulled up here to my stack of stuff, but as I look at these emails, it seems Epstein did not like Trump. Well, my favorite is the Lincoln Project. Where do I have this? Hold on, I got to do this one I've got in my stack. Don't worry, I've got them all here. The Lincoln Project, they put out an email. No, they didn't. Actually, it was the Democrats. It was the quote from one of the emails from 2017. I have met some very bad people, none as bad as Trump. That's a direct quote. And guess what? The Democrats, literally this account on X reposted this. The Democrats have run with this going, aha, even Epstein thinks that Trump is a terrible person. But I don't think that it works this way. You can't take somebody who is by common understanding, a terrible person, and then when he says something that you think is true about Trump, to take that quote and have it carry, gravitas, have it be presented as purportedly truthful. This is insanity. Have they not heard of impeachment, witness impeachment? This is lawyers do this, right? You get a witness up in court, and it doesn't even have to be a party of the case. It doesn't have to be a defendant or a plaintiff, but you got a witness up, and you can ask them questions not about the case to get to their credibility. So you can ask them about things involving, for example, moral, past acts of moral turpitude in an effort to show that they're a bad person. So if somebody like Epstein, if he was still around and got asked, what do you think of Trump? And he goes, well, I think he's a terrible person. You would be within your rights as an attorney to question him about other things that he's done and disqualify him. It'd be disqualifying. Anything this guy says is disqualifying. Now, I'm the first to admit, if I saw things here where Trump is, in an email is participating or admitting to something, I don't know what possibly could be there, but they certainly haven't put that out there. And none of these emails, again, none of them are with Trump or really with anybody in Trump's orbit. Not with an assistant, not with somebody in his household, not with any of his kids, not with any of his staff members. It's all people talking about Trump. And why wouldn't they talk about Trump? Why wouldn't they? Trump was a celebrity, is a celebrity, but back then was a celebrity and certainly somebody on the social circuit, and Epstein knew him, and Epstein also knew that Trump stopped talking to him. And he felt the sting of that. And it comes out in these emails. Epstein was bitter. And he surrounded himself by a bunch of Democrats, and Epstein was thriving. Let me tell you this, thriving. When suddenly, after being a social pariah, he suddenly, with the 2016 election, was in a place where he had something that all the establishment Democrats wanted. He had this past relationship with Trump and this taint that he could give Trump on behalf of the Dems. So they all came running to him. That's the real story here. That's what's in these emails. They all came running. Oh, Jeffrey, tell us, what dirt do you have on Trump? Oh, I have this. Oh, I have that. Which is now being presented as evidence. But really, knowing what we know about the guy, this is the kind of filth that he trafficked in. This is the kind of nonsense. But he was using it, not a dumb guy, he was using it to gain leverage and to get what he was hoping to be political protection from a Democratic government. Read Hillary Clinton. That's why he was working, in fact, of all things, on the Trump-Russia collusion thing. He was helping cook it up, and they were working with him to that end. So this is not what they think it is. And they think by making a lot of noise, they can, claim enough times that Trump is a pedophile to make people believe it. It's just not there. Until I see it there. Look, until I see the evidence of it, I'm sticking to what I've always believed about this, which is it's really just a bunch of Democrats doing Democrat things. Sam Mirejovsky here behind the What's Right microphone. Friends, be right back in just a moment.
I'm the best.
Personal injury law has been the same for a long time.
The best.
Big egos, greed, and sleazy schemes. We've had enough. Welcome to Sam and Ash, the new standard for personal injury law, where things are done the right way, because you deserve a team that delivers real support and results. When you have both, your whole world can change. Sam and Ash Injury Law, because you deserve what's right.
Hi, welcome back. Sam Mirejovsky here on the What's Right Media Network. By the way, California getting sued by the Department of Justice over Prop 50. This is the gerrymandering proposition that undid the independent, nonpartisan commission to set new districts in the state of California. A Department of Justice coming in and filing a lawsuit. I don't think this is going to be successful, folks. Unfortunately, and it pains me to say that, but again, this is a good thing the Justice Department is doing. Gavin Newsom responded to it with a quote, a memorable quote: "These losers lost at the ballot box, and soon they will also lose in court." All right, so we've got that. Newsom obviously positioning himself as the 2028 candidate, so this is kind of the tone that he has set for the past several months. Incidentally, did you hear something that Gavin Newsom is not expressing an opinion about? Yep, his former chief of staff. His former chief of staff was arrested. Yeah, it's wild stuff. Somebody basically this lady had stolen a bunch of money from another campaign, and it's just wild. Dana Williamson, 53. There's a 23 count federal indictment, and the charges here, the allegations are that she and accomplices swiped about $225,000 from an inactive political campaign and funneled it straight into a friend's pocket. The account belonged to a congressman, Javier Becerra, and he's also named in the indictment, by the way. So this is crazy. 10 grand per month was funneled into an account that he controlled, and So there's a lot here. Funny enough, one thing I've heard about this is that this investigation started under Biden. It started under Biden, and it, for whatever reason, just it didn't move forward. It got stuck somewhere. So I'm sure there's more about the story. Gavin Newsom not expressing a spicy opinion about this. No doubt he thinks this is just political retribution. Now, political retribution on the Epstein front. Interesting thing, a couple of reactions, notable reactions. Keith Olbermann. Remember once upon a time when Keith Olbermann was just some reasonable guy? Well, that ship sailed a long time ago. Here's Olbermann. I think kind of saying that the walls are closing in on Trump, but that we've heard for a long time. Never quite happened. Olbermann here is very, very upset and thinks this is big news that will be the final undoing of Donaldus Maximus.
How much time does Trump have left? For from beyond the grave, Jeffrey Epstein has accused Trump, and there is a smoking gun. The allegations that one of Epstein's female victims, quote, spent hours at Epstein's house with Trump, that Trump was that dog that hasn't barked and has never once been mentioned. Those specific allegations made by Jeffrey Epstein in 2011 and acknowledged by Ghislaine Maxwell minutes later. And now Trump and his Republicans, especially Speaker of the House Mike Johnson, and his MAGA enablers and his Fox News whores are complicit in an extraordinary, disgusting cover-up. Another cover-up of pedophilia, a new cover-up right now playing out in real time as Trump tries to blackmail Republicans into burying the Epstein files. A cover-up, most of all, of Trump's guilt. Trump is now guilty. Epstein has provided the evidence.
Oh, I saw it over yet. Sorry, folks. I couldn't contain myself. That was Keith Olbermann. Trump is now guilty. Boy. Can I just say something here? I can't think of a time, and the Democrats have done some really bad things here to our country over my, the 45 years that I've been on the planet. And sure, I get heated sometimes, but this is wild. Robbie, do I ever, now be honest, do I get this heated? I don't know. Is this healthy? My doctor says my blood pressure is already elevated. If I did this, if I got myself this invested to the point that my whole face was turning red and I was shaking, I don't know. I don't think I could survive it. So I hope Keith is going to be okay. Side note, this whole thing about this young woman, name redacted, at Epstein's house when Trump was there. This isn't proof that happened. This is just Epstein's account of it. Can we be clear about this? And the person that was alleged to have been there vehemently denied Trump ever doing anything inappropriate multiple times under oath, which actually is evidence you can bring into court. Here's Ben Ferguson talking about it on CNN last night.
I wish you guys gave this much thought and much obsession over this when Joe Biden was president. I wish you were asking for this much transparency when it wasn't about attacking the president of the United States of America and to score political points. I wish you guys cared about the victims as much as you care about trying to attack Donald Trump. When CNN's own reporting says, and I quote, the woman who is the survivor literally accused Democrats, not Republicans, of hiding her name because she had not alleged Trump to have done anything wrong.
You're talking about Virginia
Correct.
who we just talked about.
And my point is,
she died by, just to be clear, she died by suicide.
But,
so that was
she
before
accused Democrats when she was alive, her words, of hiding her name because she had not alleged Trump to have done anything wrong. That is how sick and partisan this has become. You guys didn't care about the victims. You didn't care about anything else. And now you're saying, well, maybe Donald Trump knew of a crime and maybe didn't report it. That's just straight up slander and libel.
This is exactly right. So to me, again, you want to take Trump out, come with something legit. But everybody's laughing at this. Anybody real is looking at this and is discrediting it just right out of the gate. Sam Mirejovsky here on the What's Right Media Network. Be back in a moment. Don't go anywhere, folks. More of the What's Right show up next. All right, friends, you go to work, you've got a job, you're busy. Maybe you also go to school on evenings, or you coach your kids' soccer team. You're living a busy life when all of a sudden, through no fault of your own, bam, an accident happens. Now you get hit, you get hurt, and instead of stopping and worrying about it, you just keep going because that's what you have to do. What nobody tells you is that you've just signed up for 3+ months, often longer, of nonstop calls, texts, emails. The insurance companies, both sides, start harassing you, blowing you up at all of the worst times. And then the unthinkable happens. Maybe you had some medical bills. And at the end of the day, you might get a little bit of insurance money, but your medical bill, your health insurance wants that money back. They're entitled to get it back, whatever they paid out on your behalf, and you could end up owing money and being upside down on your case. Met with a client about this just today. Had an accident a few months back, had a lot of medical treatment. He owes $120,000 back to his insurance company. And that is not what he's being offered. In other words, he's upside down. It really does happen. At Sam and Ash Injury Law, we take care of all of that. We negotiate your bills. We talk to your health insurance, your car insurance. We get everything sorted. We dot the I's. We cross the T's. And most importantly, you don't have to take any of those phone calls. You don't have to draft and answer those emails. You can just focus on living. Sam and Ash Injury Law, a lifesaver when bad things happen. 1-800-304-2000. Offices in Nevada and California, because you deserve what's right. Folks, Sam Mirejovsky here behind the What's Right microphone, making radio great again Monday through Friday here on the What's Right Media Network. It's a beautiful day in Las Vegas today, and I'm happy to be here. And, of course, still welcoming our friends now in second full week, KMET out in California. Guys, I'm glad to have you with us, and drop me an email. Introduce yourselves. Want to hear from you. Sam@whatsrightshow.com. Sam@whatsrightshow.com. Very happy to be on your station and to welcome KMET to the What's Right family. Now, Tim Burchett is one of my favorite people in Congress. Started a very plain-spoken guy. He is a congressman. He's been at sort of at the leading edge of this fight to release the Epstein files, but in a ecumenical way. Just release it all, right? I don't have a horse in the fight. Let's just release it all. And he's been pretty vocal about the fact that the Democrats are resisting his efforts to do a mass release, that they would prefer to dribble these documents out bit by bit. Now, why are they doing it? I think they're doing it deliberately to drag this thing out and have it gloss over the immense mess created by the shutdown. We're not talking about the shutdown. Now we're talking about Epstein. And so the people who are perpetrating this, no doubt, benefiting from it, and that would be the Democrats who brought us the shutdown mess to begin with. So, yeah, so that's it. By the way, the fact is, and Burchett explains what's going on, because the people in the media go, well, there wasn't a vote. It's not quite right. Burchett explains.
Is upcoming bill to release the Epstein files?
Yeah, that's why I just put a bill up. I just tried to move it ahead, because what you're seeing right now is what exactly is going to happen, going to continue happening. Everybody's going to pull little piecemeal portions. Sorry about that. I got to animate. I'm Southern Baptist. They're going to pull portions of it out. and they're going to try to fit their own little narrative. Both sides are going to do it. You all know it. You're all going to feed upon it. Let's just get the dadgum bill out. Let's vote it out, and the Democrats oppose me on it. It's stupid. It's all about politics. It's not about taking care of young ladies who got abused, and we should take care of them. But there's a process in place. The Democrats have had it for 4 years and didn't do a dadgum thing. And you know if Trump was in that thing, Biden, the rest, and Kamala Harris, I mean, he's the Antichrist to them. They would have already had it out. What do you got?
Yeah, this is exactly right. Now, what he's talking about here is a unanimous consent required to clear the bill out of committee. And apparently the Democrats withheld their consent. So it seems the Republicans agreed to it, is what I'm understanding, and the Democrats haven't. And nobody's actually disputing that what Burchett is saying is correct. Here's another explanation.
Well, we go through a procedure called a UC, unanimous consent. I went to the floor and I made the motion, and the Democrats had verbally told the parliamentarian that they did not agree with it. So, in fact, it was blocked. It was not unanimous. And then so it's going to go back through the normal process. And my thought process in all this was both sides are going to pull little fragments out. You saw the Democrats do it today with some email I haven't seen yet. But you got to realize they've had this stuff for 4 years under Biden. And you know good and well that if they had anything on Trump, they would have released it.
Yeah. So this is it's games is all it is. Yeah, well, a lot of people aren't having much of this. Even Stephen A. Smith asked the same question. This is not a Republican, by the way. This is an independent-minded Democrat and someone who has made some noise about possibly running for president in 2028. A little bit of a long shot candidate, but honestly, anything can happen. 3 years is a political eternity.
The same files that were open or being open now with the 220 pages of documents or whatever it is, with various emails, that could have been done when Biden was in office. Well, why didn't you do it? If it's so important now. What were the Democrats doing at that particular moment in time? Of course, if you had something on him about Epstein, you'd have let it go earlier to make sure he didn't become the 47th president. That's just my thinking from a logical perspective. But what do I know?
Yeah, it's exactly right. Why didn't the Democrats release it? Now, another important component of this is this author, Michael Wolff. Mentioned him earlier in the hour, a central pivotal figure, somebody who was going back and forth, having quite friendly emails with Epstein, somewhere around the 2016 election and then 2017 when Trump was in office. And there's one where I mentioned it yesterday here on the program, where I guess Wolff is almost advising Epstein into how he would address certain questions to Trump if Trump gets asked about Epstein. It seems Michael Wolff is goading Epstein in a way. Epstein was, in fact, a source for Wolff about The Fire and the Fury. This is a book published in 2018. The book in 2018 doesn't mention Epstein at all. I mean, that's the interesting thing, and not in any meaningful way, any connective way to Trump. So what's, to me, is kind of fascinating is so this Wolff guy, Michael Wolff, is having all these emails are getting revealed, right? They're all time-stamped, date-stamped, have all these communications with Epstein about Trump, and he held it all back. Now, you could argue, well, I'm skipping ahead here. I mean, listen, he wrote another book, Wolff did, in 2021, Too Famous, The Rich, The Powerful, The Wishful, The Notorious, The Damned. It chronicled Tucker Carlson, I think with Jared Kushner, Weinstein, Giuliani, even Jeffrey Epstein. That book also didn't provide any smoking gun evidence on Trump. All right. And then now Wolff is somehow has the dirt on the Epstein-Trump connection. You could argue that by putting out his original Trump book in 2018, he was still protecting Epstein. That now he doesn't have to protect Epstein, or perhaps even some of his other Democratic friends, because Epstein, killed himself, depending on what version of events you believe, in August of 2019. Wolf is obsessed, by the way, with taking down Trump. But in his books about Trump and Epstein, the best he could do is raise some vague questions about Trump being dirty. This is a guy who went on and on about Trump and Russia and collusion. But after hundreds of hours of conversation with both Trump and Epstein, he can't assert any connection. So I just, to me, there's just no there. I mean, again, we'd be having a very different conversation, folks. You got to trust me on this. If suddenly there was some giant revelation that felt credible. I am not an Epstein fan. There's no question about that. And I've been outspoken about this. I just think I think the way the Democrats have been very crafty in how they're using this. They're dribbling out these little emails here and there. And Michael Tracy, who is like the Epstein expert, one of the people in America has been following the story, and he's certainly not a Trump guy, okay? He wrote actually on X today, he thinks the whole Epstein issue has increasingly become a Democrat orchestrated hoax. He actually wrote, Trump's right about this. Talks about how this has all been, he says, look, James Comer and the Republicans are the ones that have been chasing this stuff down forever. And then the Republicans, the Democrats are blocking its full release. And the lazy media is going around just kind of gobbling up these little what he calls strategic disseminations of damaging information. But it's all very circumstantial and not in any way dispositive. Doesn't prove up anything. It's all hearsay from a guy who is a convicted felon. Yeah, he gets into the whole redactions, Virginia Roberts, Virginia Jeffrey. Basically, they put victim over the name, knowing full well that anybody who knows anything about this case would immediately identify Jeffrey as having testified under oath that Donald Trump was nothing but appropriate with her. So, the whole thing is gross. And even like Newsweek has written about this. This has all been documented. Yeah. I tell you, all of this is going to backfire on the Democrats. But there's no doubt. By the way, I'll tell you one thing: there are some Republican donors, there's some billionaires that are wrapped up in this, that had relationships that are. I don't know if they involved abusing children, but they were clearly close to Epstein. Ann Coulter, we'll get to this. I got to take a break. There's an interesting Michael Wolff email back and forth here that I'll share as well. But this is where we're at, folks. And every person that posts up stupid stuff and says, this proves X, then you read the actual email, and you're like, what am I missing here? This doesn't prove anything. So that's where I am today. Sam Mirejovsky on the What's Right Media Network. Hi, folks. Welcome back. The What's Right show brought to you by Sam and Ash Injury Law, the law firm you need to call if you've been in an injury, have an injury case, been injured, and don't try to do it yourself. Get help. You don't have to deal with the phone calls. You don't have to deal with the paperwork. You don't have to deal with the text messages, the voicemails, just all of it. Delegate it so you can focus on living your life and getting better. 1-800-304-2000. 1-800-304-2000, because you deserve what's right. Okay. Ann Coulter, I love that she found this. Just one last thing about the Epstein emails getting released every 10 seconds by the Democrats. Oh, look, we found another one. Oh, look at this. Trump had Thanksgiving in the same zip code as Epstein in 2017. Aha! He's a pedophile. That's where we're at. So here's what she found. She found an email from Michael Wolff. This is the intrepid reporter who keeps getting described as some legit journalist. It's a guy that was shilling for Epstein. Did 200-300 hours of interviews with Epstein and then didn't put any of it in any of the books that he wrote and only began talking about any of this after Epstein died. This was Michael Wolff talking to another reporter in the New York Times, a guy named James Patterson, on an upcoming book on Epstein. Quote, if the Patterson book is being published in August, this presents some time frame issues. You do need an immediate counter-narrative to the book. I believe Trump offers an ideal opportunity. No, this is to Epstein, correct. Yeah, this is, thank you, Robbie, I misspoke. This is to Epstein, and it's the subject of it is Patterson, the New York Times reporter. If you need an immediate counter-narrative to the book, I believe Trump offers an ideal opportunity. It's a chance to make the story about something other than you, while at the same time letting you frame your own story. Also, this is the best part, becoming an anti-Trump voice gives you a certain political cover, which you decidedly don't have now. Aha! Didn't that make sense? Doesn't this make sense? You see what I was telling you earlier? How Epstein, smart guy, okay? I think there's no dispute about that. Wickedly smart guy, strategic guy, guy who understood that things were looking bad for him. After all, he's flying around underaged girls, sex trafficking young women. So this is a guy that realizes he needs leverage and he needs political cover. And he's got this Michael Wolff, this journalist, this person who's being cited today by the Democrats as some sort of above reproach, investigative reporter. Basically, Michael Wolff saying, hey, you know what? If you come out to be anti-Trump, if you've got some dirt on Trump, this could be great for you. This could be strategically good for you. And of course, you can imagine Epstein latching onto that and hooking into it. So there it is. Folks, I tell you, this whole thing's going to blow up in their faces. But the problem is, and this is where we're at in the country, just generally. We are so tribal, right? Meaning, nobody will look at anything anymore. And you do, right? And we do here on the program. We're able to examine things independently. Sometimes Trump disappoints us. Now, I'm unwavering in my support of him. But take like the H-1B visa thing. I think he's just wrong. I think when he told Laura Ingraham over the weekend, 2 days ago, this holiday keeps messing with me. A couple days ago, did the interview Laura Ingraham and said, that we just don't have skilled workers in America. We can train our workers to be skilled workers. We can do this. So fighting for American workers is something that's important to me. I'm going to call Trump out on it. It's not us versus them all the time. But these people, it's anything, as long as it gets Trump. As long as it damages Trump, and that's the only lens that they view it through. And Robbie was telling me during the break, imagine if Republicans, like if 90% of Republicans were like Candace Owens, where they just immediately went to thinking that Charlie Kirk was killed by TPUSA. by his own organization / the Jews, right? If like 90% of Republicans just went, oh, that's what it is. And that today, it feels like 90% of Democrats out there have all gone, oh, Trump's a pedophile. It's like, read the freaking email. Did we forget how to read? Think this through. It's not the own that you think it is. And the more that you... Oh, I hate to give advice to the other side, folks. I hate to do this. They don't pay me for it, and they don't deserve it. Well, let me give some advice to my friends on the other side of the aisle. Has going after Trump with fake stuff worked out for you thus far? There, that's the hint. Ask yourself that looking in the mirror. Sam Mirejovsky on the West Right Media Network, back for another hour right after this. All right, the shutdown is over. Last night, Trump signs the bill that ended the longest government shutdown ever. So we have that nightmare behind us, the continuing resolution now in place. Republicans and Democrats have time and space to work out a new federal budget. So the battle over for the time being. Of course, this gets punted down the road, and now honest and frustrating discussions will begin on all sorts of things. I still maintain that health insurance, the disaster that is the ACA, the Affordable Care Act, which of course is not affordable and does not provide adequate care, otherwise known as Obamacare, needs to be rewritten, perhaps thrown out, and something new in its place. I've suggested different things that I would do immediately with health insurance, least of not which separating out, a very expensive care, call it emergency care, from regular insurance. You pay for, this, you pay one premium for, catastrophic health crises. And there's a big deductible, let's say $10,000, $20,000, whatever it is, but it covers everything above that. And it's a worst case scenario. And then you handle as a separate issue your general health care. X-rays, a blood test, blood work, GP visits, that kind of thing. Okay, just a thought. So this will be something we will cover here, obviously, as the weeks and months go on. And I think come next month, come December, there have been some promises made to work out some of the stuff in the ACA credits, extending them for a year. So we'll see where all this goes. Okay. I don't know if you saw this news today, big news, that the top housing official in Trump's administration is referred, are you ready for this? One of our favorite people, to the Department of Justice for a potential criminal probe. I like the word probe, especially when it comes to California Democratic House member Eric Swalwell. That's right. What was the spy's name? I know what I call her privately, which I'm not sure I can use on air. He's the guy who had the hot babe that was into him. A Chinese lady. Fang Fang, I think was her name. Okay. At any rate, turns out she was a Chinese spy. The whole thing was a mess. He's never apologized for it. Swalwell, by the way, was a prominent leading member of the Democrats in impeachment proceedings against Donaldus Maximus in his first term. Got a lot of press accolades for that. And now apparently, it's the same stuff. The problem is, here, let me pull it up. It's the same stuff. Here's what the allegation is. Again, these are just allegations. Apparently, his principal residence is in D.C. And he doesn't have a California address. And it has to do with a mortgage. So he's got a mortgage. He says the mortgage is his principal his principal residence is in D.C. And what's the problem with this? The problem is that he represents Livermore in California, which is the 14th congressional district in California. So he has to be living there. You can either be a member of Congress representing a particular place like Las Vegas and live in Las Vegas, or you can go live as a free citizen and work in D.C., like be a lobbyist, for example. But you can't represent Las Vegas, or in this case, Swalwell's case, California, and then go declare under penalty of perjury to the mortgage company that your primary residence is in the District of Columbia. That's a problem. So perfect. Yes, Fang Fang, the Chinese spy. Okay. But Swalwell isn't he the one who let a fart rip out on TV when he was getting interviewed? This look, it can happen to the best of us. Gas is gas, but as a general rule, if you're about to go on TV or you're a public figure, a high fiber diet is ill-advised. So it's one thing going on. And speaking of criminal referrals, there's another interesting development from the Senate. Ron Johnson and Rick Scott, both senators on the Permanent Subcommittee on Investigations, have fired off a letter to Armando Quintero. Now, who is he? Glad you asked. Quintero is the director of the California Department of Parks and Rec. Parks and Rec. Sam, what the hell is this about? Okay. Remember back in January of this year, the Palisades fire? They've sent a letter requesting all records referring and relating to wildfire preparation, suppression, response, leading up to the fires, because remember, we just found out that the Lackman fire that was supposedly put out but still had a chance of reigniting, the firefighters were told to stand down from that. That's something we learned a couple weeks ago. And of course, that fire then reignited and caused the Palisades to burn down. So that's a pretty exhaustive list. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I'm just saying this. Republicans seem to be intent to get to the bottom of this. And one of the things that's out there sort of lurking in the background is the fire aid money. I mean, it's not just the lady that worked for once upon a time for Gavin Newsom, who has sticky fingers, who together with Becerra and others apparently liberated $225,000 allegedly from a dormant political account. That's in today's news as well. Where did all that fire aid money go? What was that, Robbie? $100 million? Makes $225,000 look like chump change. The whole thing is, and I say this to all of our friends listening in California, folks, I am Nevada's favorite recovering Californian. I was once one of you. And I just couldn't take it anymore. So I absconded. I got in my car and I strapped all the stuff to, I drove across the border. And I'll remember when we first moved to Nevada, we crossed over there and coming down the hill, you got the big CHP station on the left, coming down the hill, and you see off in a distance Primm, Nevada. And you cross the state line, and it's like, freedom. I felt it. I really did. And I hope someday freedom can return back to the great state of California, because it ought to be the best state in the U.S., but it is managed by complete morons. And I think it's only going to get worse before it gets better. That's the risk. And the thing is, these people are all sticky-fingered. They're all kleptocrats. They just go around amassing wealth and money for themselves and power, and then install some of the most worthless people in key leadership positions. And then failure happens, and then Then they need more money to fix whatever failure it is. So they go and apply to a friendly federal government when there's a chance, and they get billions of dollars from the feds. And then that money gets laundered again through the same broken system. And again, all these people end up, their wives, their brothers, their friends end up with these lucrative, $20 million contracts to do this for the homeless and $12 million to do that for the environment or recycling or whatever the hell kind of things they come up with. They all sound good on paper, but of course it's one giant Democrat patronage machine. And that's why these stories are coming in. And my sense is that there's something brewing. And, it's all fun and games. Newsom is out there with his team doing the social media stuff where he's being really obnoxious about being the loud voice against Trump. And it's selling. It certainly is working with his base. It's getting traction with his base. You're also getting a lot of attention. And a guy that doesn't have his house in order, where there's some reasonable questions one might ask about money missing and how things have been managed, and I don't know, a huge part of LA just burning down, a whoopsie daisy, and add to it previous fires, PG&E. This is the whole scandal. I mean, you get into some of the California. This guy wants to run for president, is my point. He wants to bring to the United States what he's already done to California. My goodness. Whew, I'm going to turn into Keith Olbermann here. I got to be careful, Robbie. I'm going to take a little namaste moment here during the break. Sam Mirejovsky behind the What's Right microphone, back in just a moment.
The Sam and Ash team, they wanted me to have the best care. They had my interests at heart. I have an enormous amount of gratitude. I cannot say enough thank you.
All right. This happens, I tell you, every day in Las Vegas, in Hemet, Riverside, wherever you live. You could be traveling between Las Vegas and Riverside. It can happen on the 15th, but even, a block away from your house, an accident. You do everything right, and some idiot hits you. And the next 3, maybe 6 months of your life are going to be spent in administrative hell. Your life that you are trying to live, the job you're trying to do, you're just going to have people bothering you all the time. Texts. Yeah, they text you now from the insurance company. Hey, Sam. Emails. Phone calls, and they go to voicemail, and you got these voicemails loading up your phone. Yeah, and by the time you have time to get back to them, they don't work anymore. They end work at 3:30 or whatever, and you can't even return the call. You have time for that stuff. But you know what you do have time for? Hiring a solid, trustworthy, professional, and helpful personal injury lawyer. And not just anybody, not one of these clowns from the billboards, but an honest-to-goodness firm that you can trust. Sam and Ash Injury Law. Now, I can vouch for Sam and Ash because it's my firm. I started it together with Ash Watkins, a longtime friend, went to law school together, worked together at another big firm, and we branched off and decided to start something different. A firm focused on making clients better and helping them, actually being their personal assistants so they can live their lives, take care of the things they need to take care of, be with their family, and let us handle the hassle of dealing with the insurance company and that entire mess. 1-800-304-2000, 1-800-304-2000, samandashlaw.com is the email. Sam and Ash Injury Law, because you deserve what's right. Okay. What? I'm telling you, the Antifa announcement's big too. It's busy news day today, my goodness. You see that Marco Rubio designated Antifa now officially as a terrorist organization. It came down. So this has been talk about this for some time. But again, as a foreign terrorist organization previously just a domestic terrorist org. Now it's a foreign terrorist organization. Do you know why they were able to do this? Because Antifa's been funded by our adversaries, by people outside of the U.S. Here's a quote from Marco Rubio. The Department of State is designating 4 Antifa groups as foreign terrorist organizations and specially designated global terrorists. The United States will continue using all available tools to protect our nation from these anti-American, anti-capitalist, and anti-Christian terrorist groups. Well, fun fact, if you appreciate the good work of the Attorney General under Barack Obama, then you'll recognize that under a memo from the Office of Legal Counsel obtained during the Obama administration, now members of Antifa, as a foreign terrorist group designated under the law, are subject to drone strikes. This is, well, I don't know. I mean, the extra escalation means that, are these people going to start getting blasted out of the sky? I don't know. But going back to Anwar al-Awlaki, right? This was a classic example where certainly a lot of Democrats should have been despondent over Obama's overreach. A lot of people were sold on Obama being a constitutional law professor and a liberal. He was going to be this great, guy who was, and all of a sudden we're drone striking Americans. It's like, oh, well, we can't do that. No, we've got a memo. Sorry, designated as a terrorist. Okay. But this is an example how you start to get cute with the law, and all of a sudden, it can be later used by somebody else in a different way. I'm not predicting yet that that the military is going to come in and start blasting Antifa from gunships, but I'm just saying that this is good law right now, and they would be within their rights to do it. Now, the minute that they were to do something like that, Robbie, I predict instantly we would hear not the end of it from the Democrat. They would all have conniption fits. And Trump is a fascist, a dictator. Horrible. I mean, they'd be likening him to the worst of the worst. But you have to take it back to the Obama administration. So there's that bit of news. Also, of course, hoping that Senator Fetterman's going to be okay. He took a nasty fall and had to be hospitalized. Apparently, the fall itself is not the issue, but he had a thing happen with his heart, little misfire in his heart, and caused him to lose consciousness temporarily, just long enough for him, to not be able to hold himself up. And so it's being described as life-threatening. I don't think so. I think he's going to be fine. And he said he scraped his face. And in the press release, he wrote something to the effect of, well, his team, right, wrote something, a quote from Fetterman going, hey, if you thought my face was bad before, just wait. If you thought I couldn't get any worse, It was pretty funny. I still maintain, Robbie, I think you're right. We said this yesterday, he's a clear winner in the shutdown fight. And Fetterman's become very, very likable. Now they're going around, they're interviewing people about the shutdown. Chris Murphy, Robbie, is he covering for Schumer? Is this the nicest it's gotten? It doesn't really. Yes, people are definitely not happy with Chuck E. Schumer on the Democratic side. So this is Chris Murphy, Democrat, Connecticut. Listen to him.
Well, I think his job is really, really hard. He obviously did not want this outcome. He wanted the caucus to stay together. He was not successful in that endeavor. We've got to have a hard conversation as a caucus about what we all need to do, what kind of leadership we need in order to make sure that we don't continue to break apart. This is the fourth major moment this year where a handful of Democrats have crossed over and voted with Donald Trump. I don't think that that's the way that you save a democracy. And yes, that means we need more effective leadership. That also means that the caucus has to decide for itself that we're not going to continue to break apart like this.
Okay, it to me, all right. To me, it sounds like he's gently saying they need some other leadership. I don't know. At the same time, it's obvious that there was no other way that this could go, right? I mean, they had to find 8 people who were going to end this. They needed an off-ramp. Yes. Well, they're going to have to, Robbie's in my ear here saying they're going to need a bridge, somebody to be a connector between the DNC and the DSA. Robbie, I don't know. I think the DSA, the Democratic Socialists of America, are looking to gobble up the DNC, all of it. And yeah, you're right. No, AOC wants that lane for sure. All right, Sam Mirejovsky back in a moment. Hi, welcome back. Here on the What's Right show, we practice common sense conservatism. So let me point something out here. There is, beyond any doubt, a move leftward, a shift leftward in the country. And yesterday I played the clips. Rasmussen reports even people that previously voted for Trump and support Trump still now, younger people, are open to socialist ideas. And conservatism is not the selling proposition it once was. And here's the problem. I'll tell you this. If whatever the system is, it has to deliver results. And for too long, Republicans have abandoned conservatism. And they've simply been a brake, a resisting force, if you will, on the managed decline of America perpetrated by the Democrats. You can't sit here and say, well, gee, Sam, we don't have affordable housing, and at the same time go, well, importing 30 million illegal immigrants, 25 million, whatever the number is, over the last 4 years, didn't have an effect. You can't say that rules and restrictions on the development of property, codes, various building codes, housing codes, onerous hoops to jump through before you get a building permit, before a developer can break ground and build houses. You know, houses used to be affordable for a working class, but look at the kind of houses they built. You want to bring 1960 back? Try building a 1960s era working class house today. You can't get it built. They won't let you build it. And who changed that? Who wrecked that? Well, for the most part, the left, in trying to always make everybody safe. Oh, something bad happened. Well, we're going to fix that with the new law. But Republicans are complicit in this too. All politicians don't want bad things to happen, so we continue passing new rules every time something bad happens, ultimately making it much more expensive to do anything. Trust me, I have you ever gone and looked at a 1960s house? So, one of these homes that single owner and it's like untouched almost, right? My sister bought one of these houses, not a 1960s house, but 1970. I think her house was built 1977 in California. And it wouldn't have been it was a nicer upscale home, right-ish, right? Still not completely affordable at the time to just anybody. But that house, it's literally paper, 2x4s, okay? Some chicken wire, and some concrete paste put on the outside of the house. I know there are technical terms for everything I just described, but that is it, okay? You open those walls up, there is no insulation in them. But you need to have we have to be environmentally friendly, right? We have to have all sorts of green efficiency standards for AC units. We need double paned windows. We need that stuff costs money, people. This is what I mean about being common sense. You want to fix this country? Maybe the revolutionaries aren't all that wrong. Maybe we do need a revolution, but not more government. Maybe the revolution that we need is less government. Hell, wipe it all away. You know what California? Let's pick on California for a minute. You know, if suddenly there was a revolution in California, and you know, and I'm not saying we'd have to necessarily put Gavin Newsom's head on a stick. Okay, I'm not going that far. But let's just say, you know, they chase everybody out of Sacramento and out of local government, and the new revolutionary government in California comes in and goes, we're every restriction, every rule, we're going back to basic law, murder, theft, strict punishments. But you know, you want to build a house, libertarianism in some respects. Okay. Do you know what an economic boom would hit California in a matter of months? You know how you know the turnaround miracle that would be? The only answers the other side has is more government. I think our side right now has an opportunity to actually be real conservatives. Like, look at this, for example, New York, Seattle mayor that just won the election, Katie Wilson. You heard about her? I know we've been talking about Mandani, and I get it. Seattle's not as exciting to talk about as New York, but closer to many of us, right? We're here in Vegas, closer to Seattle than we are to New York. And those of you in California, you know, elsewhere in the West, Seattle's close. Okay, this lady's nuts, and she's a little junior Mandani. Listen to some of her ideas. Wow.
Access to affordable, healthy food is a basic right. We cannot allow giant grocery chains to stomp all over our communities, close stores at will, and leave behind food deserts. Together we can build a Seattle where fresh food is for everyone, not just for those who can afford it. Food deserts are not natural. Corporations create them when they abandon our communities. As mayor, I'm excited to step up and with UFCW explore public option grocery stores to fill those gaps.
There it is. We're going to do, you know what? We're going to solve the affordability crisis with more government. I just explained to you absolutely factually that government restrictions cost money. That the more government there is, the more government involvement there is, prices more likely to go up. Oh, you want to talk about grocery stores? Well, the grocery stores are a great example. Imagine you own a grocery store. It could be a giant store. It could be a local bodega. Now, all of a sudden, across the street is a government-run store that is selling food at cost. And it works, right? For the first few weeks, for the first month or 2, 3, 4 even, it's going to work. Right? There's going to be food coming and people are going to, where are they going to shop? They're going to go to the government store where things are a little bit cheaper. Then the community store, the private store, goes out of business. And eventually what happens is the government store, the government-run store now doesn't have any competition. It doesn't have a need to produce a profit. It doesn't have to be well-run. And what happens is it stops delivering fresh food. Stuff rots in the back while people take long breaks. Oh, that government worker just went on maternity leave. There's nobody else to replace her. That's it. I've mentioned this a million times. I remember going to the what's now the Czech Republic, back then was Czechoslovakia, right after the end of communism. So everything was still government run. And I walk into stores and lights would be out and nothing would be on the shelves. And one time I looked behind kind of the curtain into the back and there were unopened boxes. And I said, well, you guys have, whatever it was I need. You have that? Oh, yeah, it's in the back, but we'll get it out tomorrow or the day after. Well, why not? Why not now? Well, we're going to get it tomorrow. We're not going to do it. And the lady literally sitting there doing a crossword puzzle. She's not going to get fired for bad performance. She doesn't have a supervisor that says, get off your rump and go move. She's a government worker. Imagine you had to rely on the DMV to sell you whatever it is that you need. And our friends, by the way, and let's say some of you listening in Utah, you know this, if you go and buy alcohol in Utah, you go to a government store, right? Because that's a part of the law there. They can't privately sell privately sell hard liquor. So you go to the government store. The stores are depressing, and the selection is terrible. I can tell you that as an aspiring alcoholic. What are you laughing at, Robbie? You've been to those stores in Utah, right? Have you been to a government liquor store in Utah? How does it compare to a Total Wine, for example? Or a Lee's. Here in Vegas, we got Lee's Family Liquor. How does it compare? There's no comparison. Now imagine all of your groceries. We love variety and choice. And the thing that makes me laugh about all this is when it comes to choices of food and of items and everything, I don't know, a lot of leftists like choice. A lot of my liberal friends are the first to say, oh, I don't like that cheese. I want this cheese. I want the organic. I want this. I want the latest iPhone. Capitalism produces a maximum amount of choice for the consumer. It's the system that is incentivized to satisfy maximally the consumer. And it only really struggles when there's government regulation. The answer here, in other words, to this moving socialism thing in America is to counter it with real conservatism. Conservatism needs to be rebranded. And I'd take it out of the hands of every Republican who's bastardized it over the last 4 decades, quite honestly. Well, certainly over the last 2. No, it's not a managed decline of America. We're going to get back to the basics. Sam Mirejovsky here on the What's Right Media Network. Don't go anywhere. More of the What's Right show up next. Sam Mirejovsky here, Nevada's favorite recovering Californian, behind the What's Right microphone. We'll get always too much stuff to cover in these programs, particularly on a busy news day like today. Tim Burchett, we already played a couple Tim Burchett clips. He's been prolific. He went on yesterday, Laura Coates, CNN's show, talking about AOC and how she is likely to take Chuck Schumer on for the leadership position. Here's what Burchett said about it. I know, I'm telling you, this is why Chuck Schumer, the biggest loser of the longest government shutdown in U.S. history.
And AOC, I think, will take him on. I think I talked to her tonight, and she'll announce tomorrow. If she announced tomorrow, she'd raise $10 million over the weekend. They'd be throwing money at her as fast. It should be record amounts because people are sick of Chuck Schumer and sick of him.
When you talked to her tonight you talked about running, what did she say?
She smiled and said, "Thank you, Burchett." I mean, she's my friendly neighborhood Marxist. I realize she's just about as far left as I am right, but she actually believes that garbage.
He's so likable. By the way, Robbie, he keeps wearing that duster. He's got this coat. So Robbie, actually, I can't believe you still have it. I'm snapping a picture of this. Robbie still got the coat. This was once upon a time a coat that I purchased from the J. Peterman catalog. People don't even realize that was a real store. It was a Seinfeld character, of course, Peterman. Yeah, but it was a real store. First, the catalog. The catalog was all hand-drawn, right? It was this iconic 90s stuff. And I had a friend, the mom of some kids that I tutored. So really a customer of mine. but became a dear friend. She was this, housewife, and she had got bored basically, and went to work at the J. Peterman store. I think there was one at a department store near where I lived, and she had a discount. I didn't have a lot of money back then. They had this beautiful duster coat. So I bought this duster, jacket. It goes all the way to the ground. You can kind of like snap the pant legs up around so you can ride it on a horse. Of course, I don't ride horses, but I thought the coat was pimp. So I had 19, what was it, 18 maybe, was how I had this coat, right? And I wore it places, and I traveled with it. And when it came time for me not to have it anymore, producer Robbie offered kindly to find it a new home, which ended up being his. He still has it. We had all these timber check clips, so he's wearing the coat. I just love this. You know what, folks? I just got to tell you, it's rare in life to have people surround you that have been friends and compatriots for a long time. I talk about obviously Robbie. Him and I have been friends since high school. But I've my law partner, Ashley, we met in law school. We've been very close friends ever since. Ian McTaggart, who is an attorney here at Sam & Ash, met him in law school. We've been friends, very close friends for many years. Oscar has worked with me for, God, I want to say also 10 years plus. Worked at a previous firm where we were all at, and followed me over to this new endeavor. I'm very, very fortunate to be surrounded by good people that I've known a long time. And gosh knows, we all have our faults, but one thing is nice is to have, as you become more successful in life, as things start to improve, as time passes, very important to not just be surrounded by new friends. I'm always a little suspicious of people that are surrounded by new friends. I mentioned yesterday Palmer Luckey, and I, this is a guy who founded the Oculus, started the Oculus goggles, sold them to Meta, to Facebook for $2 billion, then went on to found Anduril. And Anduril had a big announcement today. You know what it was? They've come up with a new, unbelievable new drone. It's revolutionary in every way. And they're going to start producing these, by the way, in Abu Dhabi. They're going to create a new footprint in Abu Dhabi. This guy is like the Tony Stark, like of real life. But that's not the story. So what I wanted to mention about this guy is an interesting fact. He met his wife in high school. And now he's a billionaire. And he's still married to, and just loves this woman with all his heart. I've been married for 20 years, and there's something beautiful about having longevity in your relationships. Now, I'm always suspicious of people that don't have that. There's legitimate reasons why relationships fail, and I've had a couple of meaningful relationships in my life blow up, and I think for good reason, but you try to keep people around you. That's a little bit of heartfelt advice, because there's something sustaining about that. And that's it. I just wanted to mention that. And while we're on that topic, I think we'll get more into this tomorrow, Robbie. But I keep feeling impressed that people like Burchett do it right, calling AOC his friendly neighborhood Marxist, or my friendly neighbor Marxist neighbor. There are people, like I said, I've had this happen to me just in the last week. Just a virulent, nasty assault by somebody that I thought was a friend. And it's, how do I put this? It's crazy to me that people on the internet just lose their minds and are so nasty to each other. I mean, nasty. And get wound up in politics. Meanwhile, the people in Congress that these we're getting wound up about, they're able to be collegial for the most part with each other. And there's something big about this. The big boys, the real people, don't take any of this too personally. There's a lesson in there. I tell you this openly, and I get, sometimes I get from our side, I get emails, you shouldn't be friends with Democrats. Of course I should be. Hell, I want to try to persuade people on the other side. And I admit it's difficult to do. I admit it sometimes might seem impossible when you have somebody who's just so far out there in an unreasonable place where you cannot reason with them. But you can try. And civility is important. And it's one of the things I'm so upset with the media just generally is they in an effort to try to win and to help Trump and to help everybody against Trump and help sink Trump. They painted all of us that agree with Trump a lot, some, a little, but anybody that would support Trump as a racist, as a fascist, as a Nazi, as a bigot, this will go down as one of the worst, most despicable things, I think, in the history of our country. It really will. Dividing us like that, All right, folks, I'll see you tomorrow. Over and out.